Welcome back to another Garrison overview. In this episode, we're going to go over Amani, who is honestly, I think, one of the strongest garrisons in the game and doesn't get talked about a lot because of Zenobia. In this episode, we'll go over skills, talents, use cases, some reports, and how to build her with gear and pairings. Without further ado, let's get started. So first we'll go over Amani's skills. Amani's first skill is just a direct damage to the target and a damage boost to your team for a couple of seconds. It's very similar to Jadwiga's, and it's just basically the numbers are kind of changed around. Amani's second skill is a 40% attack bonus, which I'm not wild about because you get enough attack from other sources, but an extra 5% damage to infantry and an extra 5% receive from Cav. It's very similar to Jadwiga. The third skill is where it finally kind of becomes a little different. She gets a 20% increased defense and a 10% chance to dispel ongoing attack enhancements. So this is great for removing buffs and removing any kind of boosts. Although it can only trigger once every 10 seconds, it's certainly triggering enough that it can really throw off somebody's rhythm. It also makes her kind of viable in the field if you face a lot of people who have attack buffs and just general stat boosts. Finally, her fourth skill is whenever she takes skill damage, she deals damage in a fan, very similar to YSS's fan, but with less damage, and can trigger multiple times, almost like Khan's skill can with expertise. The second and third one doesn't happen as often as you think it would, but it can trigger every 10 seconds, and it's extra damage that actually ends up adding up pretty quick with the attack, and that's part of why she's built with a lot of attack in her talents or skills. And then her expertise is really where she shines. She's immune to silences, and she can drop the rage of an opponent down 200, and this can stall an enemy's skill triggers, and while also building up your own, which basically just helps you get off more skills and more damage more consistently against an enemy that has like a skill-based tree. Now this is the typical tree that Amani uses. You'll notice that we don't have King's Guard, but we still make use of Impregnable, we still make use of Impenetrable Fortifications, and for the 3% attack defense and health that we normally have, we instead get a 50% chance to reduce skill damage by 15% without a cap. That's pretty impressive. And then 150 rage when a skill is used. You'll notice that this is more about popping off your skills as often as possible, while also preventing your enemy from popping off skills. And that's kind of Amani's whole setup, and that's part of why she pairs so well with Artemisia, because Artemisia buffs all that damage with her fourth skill, but we'll get to her in another video. Another thing to notice is that right here is another 9 rage, not launching every normal attack. We have another 9 rage there, another skill damage reduction here. So there's a lot of focus and a lot of emphasis on skill damage on both sides of the garrison. So here's an earlier port of Amani. This was before I had Artemisia maxed out, but you'll see that even sometimes when she's at a troop disadvantage, if you have a numerical advantage, she just tends to take over. And I mean, this is right when XY Nevsky first was taking off. Here's another report, again, showing that when she has superior numbers and when she's properly reinforced, she does very well. That is, in its essence, to the counter to Amani, is if you can cut off reinforcements, if you can prevent her from getting reinforced and keep your own rally reinforced, she will eventually fall. Unfortunately, she's not great against Swarm, and she does have a little more stability against Swarm than Jadwiga does, but she's still fairly vulnerable to Swarm. So where is Amani useful? Amani is useful when you have control of the field, when you have control of an area, or you can gain control of an area and keep her reinforced. She's also very good if you can form a city chain and just keep the building reinforced, because the sheer amount of damage she gets in bonus will hurt anybody that does swarm her, but only if you can keep that building full and keep it sustained. As for commander pairings, the most common is Artemisia for obvious reasons with this 4th skill. It's a self-silence, but Amani being immune to silences, it cancels itself out, and that's a straight 50% damage boost. Not a 50% attack boost, but a 50% damage boost, which makes her hit like a truck. You can also use Theo if you really wanted to, but you're double dipping in silence immunity, so it doesn't do a whole lot of good. So really, I recommend Artemisia, or if you're in a pinch and you don't have Artemisia yet, YSG is also a good option. Lastly, we'll go over equipment. This is probably the weakest set of equipment I have, and she still trades very well having this kind of weak set of equipment. I do have the 1 health item. You want to try to stack health on her. Stacking attack isn't a horrible idea, but you don't get a whole lot of extra bonus because you already have that 40% bonus from her skill. So like most garrisons, I highly recommend if you could stack defense, health. Those are probably the most important stats to get. That being said, the better your equipment is, the better she's going to trade too. So even if you have attack equipment that's of higher quality, you can always consider using that too. This concludes our discussion on Amani. If this helped you and you liked it, please leave a like to let me know so I can make more of these videos in the future. If you're interested in seeing more, subscribing and hitting the notification bell is the best way to do this, as I post regular Rise of Kingdoms content. If you find a friend that might find this information interesting, share it with them as well. But as always, good luck, fight well, and I will see you on the battlefield.